So you have a teenager and you want what's best for them, but sometimes you just don't know what to do. I mean, we've all been there, right? Well, welcome everyone, and welcome to today's episode of How to Be the Parent That Your Teenager Needs You to Be, where with each episode we explore the questions, the issues, the concerns, and the challenges that you face as a parent with a teenager. If your goal is to empower your teenager to be their absolute best and to bring the peace, joy, and love back into your home, then you've come to the right place. Well, today we're going to be talking about helping your teenager build confidence or bring confidence back to them. And I've got a personal story that came up for me that sort of brought the topic up. So let's get started. So hello again everyone, my name is Jim White and I'm an author, coach, and the founder of the Family Enrichment Academy. And in today's episode we're going to be talking about how to help your teenager with confidence or help them to regain confidence. And again, I have a little bit of a personal story that brought this up for me. But before we dive into that, I did have two items that I wanted to touch on. First of all, on behalf of your teenager, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for your commitment to grow and learn as a parent. You know, a growth mindset is going to be critical to getting through these teenage years. And in fact, it's the foundation of a family enrichment hero, or an FEA hero like we like to call them. That growth mindset is just foundational to our community. And if you want to learn more about the Family Enrichment Academy and this community, check out the first episode of this podcast where we do an introduction. And then the second thing I wanted to let you know is that I have a free resource for you. This is one of the most common questions I get from parents is or what's the secret to getting my teenager to open up more? And the simple answer is to ask better questions. And so what I have, these are 10 questions you should never ask your teenager. Think of these as like conversation killers. And then I also have 10 great questions, the ones you should be asking, the ones that help to open them up. And so again, it's a free resource. You'll find a link in the show notes, so you can just click that, go and download that resource. So let's get back to our conversation about helping your teenager with confidence. And again, this came up for me through a little bit of a personal experience that I had. So let me just give you a little bit of the backstory that brought this up and gave me the idea for recording this episode. So I actually was delivering a workshop to a group of parents on social media. And during the workshop, one of the parents asked a question, and they were kind of frustrated with something that was going on with one of their children. Actually, it was a teenage son, and the way she explained it was that he was just always on his phone playing video games. And it's turned into something that he just always does. And they've talked about it, and they've even threatened to take his phone away. And she said it had gotten so bad that his younger brother, her younger son, had started complaining to him because they never played or hung out together anymore. And she was clearly frustrated, and so she asked if I had any ideas on what to do. Well, I shared a few thoughts and some ideas on the topic, but I could just tell it was not getting to her. It wasn't providing any additional insight. So as I left the workshop, and as we wrapped it all up, I just had this feeling of disappointment in myself. I felt like I wasn't very effective in that moment. And so it was a breakdown in my confidence. And actually, again, this is what kind of had me think about this for our topic today. So, and it's interesting as you go through those situations, what you find at the core a lot of times is this idea of not being good enough or not being belonging or part of the group. That's what causes that breakdown in confidence. And this was an example of me not feeling like I had what it took or I was good enough. And I bring this up because this is exactly what your teenager is experiencing. They're going through these moments where they don't feel good enough, and that's what causes the breakdown in confidence. And so the first step in helping your teenager to get through that is to engage with them with compassion and acknowledge and validate what they're going through. And this is critical, and we've talked about this in other videos as well. The reason this is so important is because in the moment, your teenager is experiencing that fear is what it is, right? And until that fear is dissipated, until they've sort of gotten through that, they're not going to be in a position to listen to any advice or accept any year of coaching or look for ways to move forward. It's just they're too much in fear at that point. So engaging with compassion and acknowledging and validating what they're going through just provides that safe place for that fear to dissipate. So again, this is a critical first step that you need to take with your teenager whenever they are in this situation. And in fact, if you don't do that, there's no real hope of moving them forward from there. So anyway, so let's go back to my scenario. So how this played out for me, actually my wife happened to be with me at this workshop. And so on the car ride home, I was feeling that, and I started to share my disappointment, and she engaged that way. She was compassionate. She acknowledged and validated what I was going through. And again, it provided that safe place for that fear and that disappointment to dissipate. And interestingly, what happened is as that dissipated for me, I naturally moved to the second step of helping your teen, and in my case, regain my confidence. And that is to start to look for, okay, what are the opportunities to learn? What can I gain from this situation? And then secondly, how can I serve others? And those are the two next steps that you can move through with your teenager. So for me, as we were driving home and that fear was dissipated, I started thinking back on the workshop and, what else could I have asked that would have, given me some additional insights so that I could have been more effective in that moment. And then secondly, I started thinking, well, you know what? I still can be of service to this mother. And actually, on the ride home, I made a commitment to my wife that I was going to reach out to her and offer a free coaching session where we could revisit the topic. Again, that idea of being of service to somebody else. And so what happened for me is over our 20-minute car ride home, I was able to pass through, if you will, that fear and regain my confidence and move through that, and then be in a position to where I'm excited about the next workshop and excited about what I can do to help and serve that mom. So it points to just kind of an example of those steps that we can use with our teenager as well. So let's go back to them. So the first thing, your teenager's feeling a lack of confidence. First, be compassionate. Step in and acknowledge and validate what they're going through. Again, the whole purpose here is just to provide a safe place for them to let that emotion, that negative emotion and fear dissipate. And once they've gotten there, then step into, okay, what can we learn from this situation? How could you act differently next time? Start asking those kinds of questions, because that helps to bring back hope. Hope for the next time. It's that idea that we can grow and learn and we can act differently next time is where that hope comes from. So introduce that and let them walk through that. And actually, the third thing, which is really powerful and sometimes we miss, is the idea of suggesting, well, how can you working your way through this and becoming more confident in whatever the situation is, how can you serve others in the process? It's that idea of service and bringing some purpose to this challenge or the circumstance. It's amazing how that can help somebody work through that confidence. So again, the three things: provide that safe environment, it's a return to safety by being compassionate, acknowledge and validating. Then the opportunity to provide hope through questions, what can I learn? How can I be different next time? And then finally, the idea of being of service or bringing purpose back into it. How can you serve somebody else through this circumstance? Those three things are a great way to step through and help your teenager, and in my case, with my example, help me to regain confidence and be ready to face that challenge the next time. So anyway, that's the three thoughts or ideas that I just wanted to share today on this idea of confidence, and hopefully you found something helpful in there. So before we wrap up though, I did want to remind you that I do have the free resource for you. It's those 10 questions you should never ask your teenager, along with the 10 questions you should be asking. And again, there's a link down below or in the show notes. You can click that link and be able to download that free resource. As always, it's truly an honor to be able to serve and support you as you move along your journey as a parent and as the hero within your family. And so just to wrap up the episode today, I just want to remind you that until next time, a change in perspective changes everything.